How's it going, you guys? So in this video, I just wanted to share with you all my top herbs and supplements for dealing with being sleep deprived. Basically, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do if I have lost like 1, 2, sometimes 3 full nights of sleep, okay? And I sometimes, every now and then, when I'm really, really busy in my life and have a lot of stuff to do, I might go 3 full nights without sleep and somehow still perform great, okay? So I'll be sharing with you supplements and herbs, but I'm probably going to also talk a little bit about other little hacks and like mindset things that you can do to help you perform optimally. It's about performing extremely well despite not having good sleep, okay? Or whatever, okay? Being at least slightly sleep deprived. So check it out. Probably the first supplement on the list that I find just amazingly effective is definitely Cordyceps, okay? And it's very important that you get the right type of Cordyceps because otherwise it will not have a profound effect, okay? So I have not found any other Cordyceps products on the market besides Hyperion herbs that have such a profound effect on, giving you just like clarity of mind and energy and just completely relieving that feeling of sleepiness when you are sleep deprived. Besides Hyperion herbs Cordyceps extract, okay? Now, trust me when I say if there was another brand, I would throw it out there. So I have not tried, I believe it's Vitaging, but from what I looked at on paper, if they are actually legitimate, their extract looks like it might be okay, but I haven't used it. I've used a whole bunch of others. I've tried the Pulse Stemets Host Defense. I've tried, what is the other one? Real mushrooms, mushrooms, and the only one that's given me this amazing effect while sleep deprived, and even while not sleep deprived, is Cordyceps. Okay, it is literally like natural steroids for your energy, and for your endurance and other things that I've mentioned in other videos. But yeah, it's a huge thing. But a little caveat here is Cordyceps, because it's so powerful at just completely removing that feeling of a need for sleep, can also create insomnia if you take too much at one time or you take it too close to bed. So I would recommend, and you'll get used to that over time. Like it's only going to interfere with your sleep the first couple days. You take too much, too close to bedtime. But anyway, if you're sleep deprived, it's like number one, okay? First time users could probably take 1/4 of a teaspoon. I like to take 1/2 of a teaspoon on a daily basis, and then when I have a really hard training session, I'll take a full teaspoon, and I find the daily maintenance level of 1/2 a teaspoon a day seems to be enough for overcoming that like jet lag feeling of being sleep deprived or whatever. So next on this list, and I believe Cordyceps also has some benefits towards improving like dopamine functioning and resensitizing receptors of dopamine, which makes sense. And one more thing is the extract from Hyperion herbs is a C4-2, I think, Cordyceps canadensis, or C4 extract, I think, whatever. Cordyceps canadensis, I believe it's a 10-to-1 extract, dual extracted, but just so you all know, in case you want to find another brand, I guess. But anyway, I recommend trying that first. So next on this list is L-Tyrosine. So L-Tyrosine has amazing evidence behind its support for improving cognitive function, everything from reaction times to relieving some of the feelings of stress to just improving overall performance, cognitive and physical, while sleep deprived and or under extreme stress of things like military combat, for example. And there's actually a study done on military members of the military, like in the heat of battle, who are like sleep deprived and this and that, and they're in the heat of like whatever war, right? Some of the most stressful things a human can experience. And they supplemented with something crazy, like 10 to 15 grams of L-Tyrosine before a stressful event, and they found a significant improvement in their performance during those stressful circumstances. So everybody already knows, like, L-Tyrosine, precursor to dopamine, but it's lower on the cascade of the catecholamine cascade, to where it's less likely to develop things like tolerance and less likely to develop diminishing returns or even side effects. Okay, and I find the right dose is very, very important. Approximately, I find for me the magical dose is around 750 milligrams a day. But I think for most people the range is going to be 500 to about 1,500 milligrams a day. Some people go up to about 3,000, and you can take it once in the morning and once in the evening. Now, it's best to take it on an empty stomach because L-tyrosine will compete with other essential amino acids in absorption if you take them too close together. So take it on an empty stomach preferably, and take an adequate dose and experiment with it. So a small percentage of people used L-tyrosine report tolerance, but that seems to be, 40% of people at the very most. But it's more so on average about 30% of people that I've seen at least report tolerance. But in the literature, you don't really see reports of tolerance or even negative side effects. Unless, of course, you have a thyroid condition. That's very important because L-tyrosine is not only a precursor to dopamine, but it's also a precursor to thyroxine, which turns into thyroid, T3, T4, etc. And it also is a precursor to noradrenaline, adrenaline, and I believe, I know that there's a connection with cortisol, but typically it definitely doesn't contribute to that, unless, of course, you take way too much, okay? But generally, you'll see good benefits from about 750 milligrams and just, experiment, trial and error. All right, so next on this list is megadosing caffeine. No, I'm just kidding. Next on this list is Maca Root. So maca is an interesting herb in this sense because it has like a multitude of, it's a multi-directional in its effects on sleep deprivation. So the first thing is that maca has some form of modulation on cortisol. I've seen evidence, mechanistic studies showing increasing cortisol tends to be a common one, but sometimes it seems to be able to lower it. And a lot of people claim it's an adaptogen, it lowers your cholesterol, it lowers your cortisol, or it adapts to your cortisol levels and changes depending on what you need. So I think anybody who's megadosed maca root, especially on day one without adapting to a tolerance to it, will find high doses of maca tend to be extremely stimulating. I find increased feelings of like aggression and rage and like anxiety and just like my mind starts to go crazy if I take too much too soon. And a lot of other people mention that as well. It might also lower estrogen, which might actually not be a good thing, which might explain some of its other effects. Or actually, I think it might increase estrogen, actually, which can increase libido. People don't know that. But most studies on its hormonal effects show it's negligible. Damn it. Effects on hormones don't seem to be profound. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, like, there's no noticeable effects on hormones, is what I'm saying in studies. So, it's more likely that it changes functioning of cortisol through various mechanisms. So, and I would say it seems to increase cortisol to a certain degree, which is not necessarily at too much of the doses. But one thing people need to understand is like what gets us going and motivated and feeling good in the morning is cortisol. Cortisol needs to spike at a particular hour after waking in order to stimulate the get up and go type of drive. So when people take herbs and supplements that dramatically lower their cortisol levels, like ashwagandha, for example, sometimes reishi and others as well, A lot of times what you'll find is decrease in motivation, as well as lethargy and just like you don't want to do anything. So maca has the exact opposite effect. So I definitely think that there's some improvements in cortisol, but the key is dosing maca right to avoid the cortisol spike going too high, right? And people who claim they have adrenal fatigue or whatever, who will take maca, they're like, oh, it makes me feel great. It lowers cortisol, they say. But in cases of adrenal fatigue, just so y'all know, side note, typically what actually happens is actually known as progesterone still. And what happens is they stimulate their adrenal glands so much that eventually it's more so the conversion of progesterone into cortisol and these other things. Eventually, you run out of progesterone or progesterone. There's not enough progesterone to produce cortisol, okay, or whatever. So basically, you're underproducing cortisol in a adrenal fatigue state, which makes you feel tired and lethargic and unmotivated and all these other things, depressed, and sleep irregularities and stuff. So what I'm trying to get at is like the reason why maca might improve people's symptoms when they label themselves as having adrenal fatigue is not because it lowers cortisol, it's because it boosts it in the morning, and that's exactly what they're missing, okay? And that's all hypothetical for the most part. It's not like a documented medical condition. So, yeah, it can improve cortisol in the morning, okay? And that's key. Take it at the right doses. Start off with about a teaspoon and bump it up to about a tablespoon, whatever. So, furthermore, maca also has amazing benefits on dopamine. So, I've heard it mentioned on like Andrew Huberman's podcasts and a couple other places. They don't seem to have like looked into it enough, but from what I've seen, maca looks like it might improve the sensitivity of dopamine receptors over time, and might possibly help to release dopamine transiently. So. But I believe it's more so of a kind of like modulating effect on dopamine receptors, improving the sensitivity and I guess what you can call the density of that receptor site. So it has more of an impact. And that would explain to a large degree why maca has such profound effects on making you feel horny, for example. Like what we find with things like tribulus and maca, especially like tribulus, it doesn't seem to influence testosterone or DHA, EA, and some of these other things, not in studies, but it might improve the sensitivity and or the density of the dopamine receptor itself, or one of the dopamine receptors, because there's many. Now, I'm not sure if that can even be studied, though, and I hope it can, so we can see some evidence on that front. It's more hypothetical, but we're looking in practice, like what we see, the effects of maca seem to be in alignment with that mechanism. So all I know is it works, okay? So I recommend probably looking into, there's only a couple brands that I found have been like pretty effective. And, just so y'all know, I'm not a Hyperion Herbs shill. They do have like a black maca extract that's gelatinized. But I've used that, and it doesn't have the same kind of effect that like for sleep deprivation and stuff, that the cheaper macas do. I think the cheaper macas are yellow maca, which has different polyphenol sets and chemical compounds compared to black maca. So I'll use the cheaper stuff. So there was a brand called Better Body Foods who sells bulk powders on Amazon as well as in stores, and I found their maca in stores at like my local grocery store, Walmart and H-E-B, for like $8 for a whole pound of maca. It was like 12 ounces maybe, and I'd take it every day. I always find it there. It's gelatinized, very important. Gelatinized maca is very important. It must be gelatinized. Please only get gelatinized maca. Do not get raw maca. Do not. Make sure it's gelatinized. Sometimes even if it says it's gelatinized, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they'll say it's raw and gelatinized. Okay, so don't buy that shit. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So, Better Body Foods, but I noticed they seem to have like discontinued their maca, it looks like, on Amazon. But you can find it in the baking section at your grocery store sometimes. If not, The other brand that I've been using recently is Terrasol. So I have good experience with Terrasol generally. If I get an herb like maca or reishi or lion's mane and it's not from Hyperion Herbs, I'll usually try to find it on Terrasol. So Terrasol has a pound of maca for something like $12 a pound. And it's gelatinized, it's good quality. I'm drinking it right now, actually. Drink it this morning. Highly recommend Terrasol's maca. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's great. You can buy a shit ton, a couple pounds, and they'll give you discounts. So I think Terrasol is great. Alternatively, Gaia Herbs has a maca that I've used historically in the past. And if you listen to some of my older maca videos, that was a brand that I recommended. They have different versions. I recommend only getting just like the plain old maca, not their compilation of like holy basil and ashwagandha with maca, because you just want the maca, just straight up regular maca. Another brand I've used is Now Foods. They have a something like, I think it was a 4-to-1 maca concentrate or something, and it's a powder. Okay, only get powders. Don't buy capsules. You need a lot of this. You need a couple tablespoons. Capsules are going to be too expensive. You're not going to be able to dose it right. You're just going to load your stomach up with like gelatin capsules or whatever. So just get the powder. Now Foods, they do offer capsules. I used that when I first started. Don't do that. It's not even gelatinized, not even extract, not enough potency. You can try their 4-to-1 concentrate. I think it's a 4-to-1. It might be a 6. I think it might be an 8-to-1. Whatever. It's gonna taste like cigarette ashes or something. Not that I've ever eaten them, but I expect that that's how they would taste. But if you use it at the right doses and you start slowly, that shit has the most potent effects on like cortisol that I've ever experienced. With that one, you can use small doses, like start off with like a half a teaspoon or something. I found that one worked really well, but it's a little too aggressive to an extent. So if you really want the strong shit, try that. If you want some just normal stuff that you know what to expect with, definitely get the Terrasol. So that's that. And yeah, black maca, red maca, purple maca. There's a lot of different types of maca. I think I've seen like white maca. They all have different effects, so just get the regular cheap shit that doesn't even say what type it is, especially from these brands I mentioned. But I think as a rule of thumb for this effect on sleep deprivation, try yellow. So that is, for the most part, it as far as the best supplements. I've tried a shit ton, and I've had decent success with a lot of them. But I think these three are kind of like, when you want an herb and you want to like really feel transformed, right? You want to feel completely different, okay? You want to really know that something's working. That's what you'll get with these herbs or supplements. And that's the only reason why I chose these, and I haven't mentioned any of the others. But I will say, like, rhodiola has profound effects on energy, exercise performance, and mood, and cognitive function. Stuff that is verified by evidence, but you could also feel it. But I don't really feel the same profound benefits on, like, wakefulness. But there are other people out there, like that guy Mike Dougal or whatever from Nootropics Reviewer on YouTube. And he refers to rhodiola as like a nap and a pill. So if that's something you're interested in, I mean, you can try it. I love rhodiola, and I'm drinking it right now. And I actually haven't slept at all in like 2 days, by the way. That's why I'm making this video. I literally haven't slept in 2 days, but I don't really feel it much. And I trained my fighters all day today, and then I had a really busy day yesterday. I was going to try to go to sleep yesterday night at like 6 p.m., but I was trying to get a nap or something. But these herbs and things gave me so much energy. I was like, I'll go to jiu-jitsu practice tonight, even though I haven't slept in forever, right? So that's kind of what to expect, is like you just feel amazing with these herbs, regardless of whether you sleep or not. It's pretty profound. That's why I keep talking about them, right? These herbs have collectively like been mostly what I've been talking about the last year: dopamine optimization, rhodiola, cordyceps, right? And tyrosine's been in the background for a long time. So some other things that you need to emphasize for performing well when you're sleep deprived. The first one, cold showers. So cold showers also dramatically improve dopamine levels. And there's some evidence out there that suggests something like a 4 times increase in circulating dopamine expression within the first like 30 minutes after extreme exposure. And the key is you have to have the cold shower or ice bath or even just going out in the cold weather. It has to be uncomfortable. That's key. Because if it's comfortable, then it's not cold enough to produce, it's not going to produce the effects on dopamine and like waking yourself up. So all these people talking about cold showers, they're onto something. It's supported by evidence. And, it's one of those things where if you do it, it will freaking work. No matter what the evidence suggests, right? But there is a lot of evidence that supports it. And it's to varying degrees depending on the protocol used in the study. So cold showers, key. And the thing is, cold showers are not just like, some of these other things like caffeine or like tyrosine. The tyrosine's amazing. I feel it for a long time, actually, when I take tyrosine. But the really unique thing about cold showers and just like cold exposure is that the increase in dopamine can last hours, like 3 to 4 hours. It's a longer sustained kind of like elevation. And that's important not only for avoiding burnout of dopamine, but it's also important for, if you're sleep deprived, you don't want to crash, right? Because if you have your dopamines like rise, like from all these things I'm talking about, don't get me wrong, you're probably not going to feel too bad from a crash, but you just want to keep the dopamine and these types of effects from these things. You want these effects to last throughout the day. You don't want to just be at work or doing whatever, especially if you're a shift worker like I used to be, or you're in the hospital or something, working as a surgeon, and you're like a whole week, no sleep, and you're on these herbs and stuff. You're like, yeah, I'm feeling great. You're all jacked up, cold showers, woo, and the dopamine just like drops in the middle of surgery, and then the person dies. Like that would just suck, right? So point is, cold showers rock, okay, for sustained dopamine release, and they'll wake you up. Like obviously, how the fuck are you going to, drown, take a bath in like an ice or whatever, and then go back to sleep? Like it's gonna be real hard. Your nervous system's gonna be jacked up. So yeah, next thing I'll talk about is mindset. Highly recommend mindset. So you need to view this, the working hard regardless of your sleep. View it as beneficial. View it as a hormetic adaptation. And I'll tell you this, most of the studies on sleep, the benefits of sleep and the dangers of sleep deprivation are correlational. There's not there's intervention trials on things like heartbeat and like metabolic rate and shit like that. Whatever. Look, don't nocebo yourself, okay? Because you can change your physiology just by believing something's bad for you. The number one problem I see with people who can't sleep and they're trying really hard to sleep, first of all, is that they believe like their life's going to be ruined if they don't have perfect sleep or whatever. Don't do that. Don't be one of those people, because you make it way worse. And a lot of times, a lot of these problems people face when they're sleep deprived tend to be a lot of them mostly triggered by your thought process around it. So be like, yeah, I'm a tank, like I'm going to be fine. Like I'm trucking through. I enjoy hard days. I enjoy challenging myself. That's important for boosting dopamine, for example, which will keep you motivated. It'll boost feelings of wakefulness. It'll reduce your feelings of fatigue. And it's also just going to drive you forward, okay? Especially if you have no other options. So there's that. What else? Yeah. So you need to have a positive, optimistic, can-do, this is good for me type attitude, and that's very beneficial for keeping the wakefulness. So, let's see. I mean, there's a variety of other things. Getting a quick sweat on with cardiovascular exercise, not weight training or weighted cardio. That's key. That's good shit. I like to slap myself sometimes, pump myself up. Positive, optimistic, engaging activities of all kinds. Like the less engaging the activity is, the harder it is to stay awake. Like, if your job involves sitting and staring at a computer screen doing repetitive activities for 8 hours, you're way more likely to like feel the effects of sleep deprivation. But if your job is like me, like you're training all these people, right? Talking with them, educating them, giving them lectures. Like I'm giving this talk right now on 2 full days without sleep. Well, 3 technically. I'm engaged, so I'm not even feeling the sleep. I don't even think about it. I'm like thinking about this. So being in the moment, shit like that, right? And don't push yourself too hard as far as like exercise and training. I know a lot of the athletes I know, they work like they're bouncers at clubs and stuff like that. They work as like police officers or something. These people are sleep. I have doctors, lots of doctors and nurses that I train, and they'll push it hard when they're sleep deprived. Like some of them, especially like the fighters and stuff like that, they're like they don't care. They'll just like push through regardless of how tired they are, and that's great. But you need to moderate the rate of perceived exertion. If you use an RPE scale, then training under an 8, even when you're sleep deprived, it's like. Even if the number on the bar, on the barbell, or the number on the weight machine, the number on the treadmill, whatever, even if that's lower objectively, as long as your subjective RPE rating is like under an 8, you're going to continue to adapt and make progress. And ultimately, remember, like I was saying before, over time, your body adapts to the low amounts of sleep. So don't think that, I'm just like doomed if I don't get enough sleep. It's like for me. Okay, so if you are regularly functioning at this level, like I'm doing right now, at a high level on lower sleep, over time your body will be less and less affected by it. Okay, trust me on that one. Okay, like I literally haven't slept in like 3 days, but I am on all these awesome supplements I mentioned today, right? Anyway, also caffeine. So I don't know how much caffeine is in the coffee / yerba mate type of thing. And by the way, yerba mate has unique effects on dopamine sensitivity. That is great to drink in conjunction with all these other supplements. I mix coffee and freaking yerba mate, and I take them with dopamine supplements because coffee and caffeine improve the expression, sensitivity, and functioning of dopamine receptors over time. Yerba mate has unique effects on keeping optimizing those dopamine effects longer and better and more profound. So I mix them all together. Caffeine, we know, keeps you awake, and these unique polyphenols in the yerba mate and coffee help to sustain that. So, and taking a green tea extract or some matcha like I do inside your coffee with like L-Tyrosine is going to improve it even more because matcha green tea has epicatechin gallate, I believe, is the molecule, and it is a dopamine carboxylase inhibitor. Don't quote me on that. Or, something to that extent. Basically, it inhibits the enzyme responsible for recycling or removing dopamine from the circulation. Or wait. The conversion. It prevents the downregulation of like the tolerance, okay? It'll prevent freaking tolerance to these compounds, and it'll help keep the effects longer, keep in circulation longer, okay? That's all. Don't quote me on that, damn it. All right. You'll hear that a lot with recommendations for taking mucuna and L-Dopa, is they'll take carbidopa, which is essentially does the same thing as like epicatechin gallate from like green tea. So I take matcha, but sometimes I'll take Now Foods green tea extract. Jarrow also has a great green tea extract. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm tired as shit, I think. I don't feel it, but I know if I wanted to sleep, I could. Although I'm drinking this badass coffee, I'm clearly pretty jacked, right? Like jacked up, like not just like jacked muscular. I feel great though. Fuck it, right? Super energized, maybe a little manic. I feel good. Also pretty out of breath and kind of hyperventilating my words out there. Anyway, so that's it. Try Wim Hof breathing, maybe. I haven't tried that. I'm going to go read the Scientific Principles of Strength Training for like the 17th time in my life. And I'll see you all next time.